Daniel Jones addressing the national media, as you just saw those quotes, for the first time since becoming a New York Football Giants quarterback, and says he hasn't paid much attention to the criticism. Max, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because you weren't happy about this pick.
No.
Everybody knows it.
Right.
Do you feel bad for Jones?
No. First of all, I agree that he's, with Dominic Foxworth, he's handled it beautifully. He's handled the criticism well. Of course, the criticism's really not directed at him. My criticism's not directed at Daniel Jones. Todd McShay, who had him the 7th quarterback on his board, or quarterback, how does he say it? On his board, has nothing personal against Daniel Jones. McShay is just doing analysis objectively, dispassionately. He's a disinterested observer, which, by the way, doesn't mean uninterested, as everyone seems to think. It means that you're being objective. And he's saying, I just think he's the 7th best guy. Nothing personal. I didn't watch a lot of Daniel Jones till I started watching clips later on.
You don't watch Duke football?
Who's watching Duke football? Are you joking? No. Ohio State, yes. Duke, no. But it's not just an issue of familiarity. When you look at the numbers and everything else, it all said Dwayne Haskins. But it's no knock against Daniel Jones. I'm a Giants fan. You know who hopes more than anyone in the world, other than probably Daniel Jones' family, and maybe even then, that Daniel Jones winds up a great quarterback? Me. I'm a Giants fan. I want him to be great. The criticism, Stephen A., was never directed at Daniel Jones. It was directed at Dave Gettleman. Gettleman is the guy being criticized. Daniel Jones may be somewhat collateral damage there, but it's Gettleman that's criticized. Daniel Jones may wind up being great. People who know a lot more about quarterbacking than I do, some of them, although most of them don't think so, but some of them think he'll be great. Good for him. Good for the New York Giants. By the way, good for me as a Giants fan. The point was you don't take him with the 6th pick in the draft because no one else was going to. And in fact, it turns out I don't think anyone else was going to take him in the 1st round. And yet Gettleman took him with the 6th pick in the draft. That's what the criticism is. Let's not get it bent. Stephen A., Daniel Jones drafted 6th in the NFL draft. I don't feel sorry for him.
I don't feel sorry for him either, but I disagree with your reasons why. My reasons are entirely different than yours. One of the things that I think gets lost in the equation sometimes when we're talking about these guys, and if you're Daniel Jones and the family of Daniel Jones, let me be very, very clear about it. You seem to be a good kid. Obviously, you got a lot of talent. The Mel Kiper Jr.'s of the world thought very, very highly of you as well. Didn't see that there was much difference between you and Dwayne Haskins, etc., although there are many people who would disagree with Mel Kiper Jr. Nobody's saying that you can't play. Nobody's saying that you're a scrub. Nobody's saying that you don't belong in the NFL. But what a lot of people, and Daniel Jones is the latest example that should learn from this, we're not measuring you against people who haven't played football or people who wish they could play football or people playing Pop Warner or something like that. We're measuring you against your contemporaries. And so when you look at Daniel Jones, inevitably you're going to look at the name Dwayne Haskins. You're going to look at a guy, while you were in the ACC, he was in the Big Ten. While you spent 3 seasons throwing 52 touchdowns, he threw 50 in 1 season, okay? This is a guy, while you completed 60% of your passes, he completed 70% of his passes. Widely recognized as an elite passer, somebody that can make some noise on the next level, that was that quintessential, prototypical type quarterback that could do some damage on the NFL level. So inevitably, when we look at you, Daniel Jones, we'll be looking at Dwayne Haskins. And if you don't measure up, it's going to be a problem. Daniel Jones can go out there and have a relatively good career. But if Dwayne Haskins shows out, we're going to hold on to the fact that he was passed up by the New York Giants and Dave Gettleman. And here's what also resonates. In 2017, when Bob McAdoo and Jerry Reese, an African-American GM, elected to bench Eli Manning for a game and start Geno Smith, the New York Giants became the last NFL team in history to start an African-American quarterback. And they only did that one time. You got people out there talking and chirping about, I'm calling the Giants a racist organization. I'm doing no such thing. I'm not calling them anything. I'm stating fact. They haven't started up until 2017. They were the only NFL team to have never started an African-American quarterback. You do so by benching Eli Manning to insert Geno Smith for 1 game. Now you end up having the number 2 overall pick. The number 2 overall pick last year. You draft Saquon Barkley instead of Sam Darnold. Fine. But this year you've got the number 6th overall pick. And universally, the quarterback situation was labeled Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, and Drew Lock and Daniel Jones were competing with one another, depending on which aficionado you were willing to listen to. Todd McShay had Daniel Jones ranked 59th amongst the players coming into the NFL draft. So Dwayne Haskins is right there, and the New York Giants pass on him. And does it beg the question that if Dwayne Haskins looked a little bit differently, perhaps the New York Giants would have selected differently? We don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know their history doesn't help in that equation. And with Gettleman chirping the way that he does, he doesn't sound like he's making much sense either. That is the problem.